Hello everyone of the YouTube. This is Mount Hill Limited for the Mount Hill History Special. This was originally planned for Christmas, but it took way too long, so Spring Special. Something like that. If you read the title, it's a bit clickbaity, but I'm trying to prove to the world that the Germans could have beaten the Soviet Union. And it wouldn't be impossible, but it's more unlikely. To prove a point. Anyway, moving forward, positives to my point, or pros, if you will. So anything that supports my point, in which there is a lot. First, the Russian Liberation Army, its leaders being Andrei Andreevich Vlasov, Sergei Kuzmich Bunyachenko, Grigory Zelenkov, Yuri Severov, Mikhail Shapalov, Semyon Trofimovich Byachkov, Borislav Romanovich Antelesky, Maltsev Viktor Ivanovich, Michael Alexeyevich Mindrov, Vladimir Ilyich Boyarsky, Andrei Ivanovich Dicky, also called Zandekevich, how do you say it? Abram Mikhailovich Dragomorovov, Mikhail Alexandrovich Ilinich or Okton, Ivan Alexeyevich Polyakov, and Igor Konstanovich Sakharov. They are also called the Vlazovites or the Vlavotsis, most because they were led by the first name on the group, Andrei Andreevich Vlasov. He was the main head behind the thing. They fought in Operation April Ring, the Prague Uprising, the Prague Offensive, and the Battle of Nuremberg. The flag is an inverse cross of St. Andrew. They were made up of Soviet POWs, Russian emigres, and ex-members of the Kamansky Brigade. They had 50,000 men, composed of an infantry and an air force. Moving on, the Committee for the Liberation of the Peoples of Russia, also led by Andrei Andreevich Vlasov and Sergei Kuzmich Benchenko, and also Grigory Zelenkov. A lot of the names are the same. Grigory Zverev, Mikhail Shapalov. I think Mikhail Shapalov is different. Semyon Trofimovich Byachkov, Borislav Romanovich Antelesky. Yeah, most of these are the same. Go to where it's different. Ivan Alexandrovich Polyanakov, Igor Konstanovich Sakharov, Vasily Fyodorovich Malyshikin, Fyodor Ivanovich Truin, Peter Nikolai Krasnov, Lazar Fedorovich Bicharakov, and finally Vyacheslav Grigoryevich Numenko. It was formed in 1944 and didn't end until 1946. The constitution was the Prague Manifesto. It could be simply put as the KONR, based off the Russian name, which was Committed Osvobozhenia Narodos Rossi. They were situated in Prague in the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia. The National Alliance of Russian Solidarity. This is still around today, by the way. Its leaders being Duke Sergei Luchtenberg, Victor M. Bayadalikov, Vladimir D. Poromensky, Alexander Artemov, Avengi Romanovich Ostrovsky, who was a member of the Romanovs, Boris Sergeyevich Pushkarev, Alexander Nikolaevich Shvedov, Vyacheslav Emanuelovich Dolinin. The ideology is solidarism, which is a type of socialism. I don't entirely know what it is. Anti-communism, anti-Semitism, Russian nationalism, and revolutionary nationalism. The newspapers, because they had two of them, was the Pozev and the Granny. The name in Russian was the Narodno Trudovvoy Sovyets Rossiyskiye Solidarstv. They were simply known as the NTS. Their motto was, "God is not in power but in truth." And their flag looks like the symbol of Ukraine but with a Russian flag in the background, because it has the symbol of Rurik, the national symbol of Ukraine. Anyway, moving on. The Russian National People's Army, or the PHHA. Its anagram is in the top right. It was led by Igor Konstantinovich Sakharov, Vladimir Ilyich Boyarsky, Konstantin Grigorievich Kromon, A.D., Grigory Zelenkov, and Sergei Nikitich Ivanov. They fought in the Battle of Valenki Luki. They had links to the All-Russian Fascist Organization, which is different from the Russian Fascist Party. The Russian Fascist Party was an anti-Semitic group that believed that all ethnic groups, like every single one of them, were all similar to Russians and should be given Russian status. The All-Russian Fascist Party was just generally anti-communist and wasn't anti-Semitic. They had 4,000 men. It lasted an entire year from 1942 to 1943, and it formed in Asintov, in Belarus. The Russian Protective Corps, led by Mikhail Fyodorovich Skorodomov, Boris Alexandrovich Shchenyvon, and Anatoly, also another spelling of Anatoly, it can be spelled with a Y or an I at the end, Ivanovich Rogovsin. They fought in the Belgrade Offensive and Operation Lorin. They lasted till they were made in 1941. They lasted till 1945. They had 11,197 men. They were a branch of the Wehrmacht. They had an infantry and cavalry unit, where there were infantry and cavalry units. The Russian People's Labour Party, led by Simeon Maltsev, Ivan Blagoshevsky, Fyodor Ivanovich Truin, A.P. Filipov, Sergei Serverchkov, Lyubimov, Shatov, Petrov, Mikhail Alexandrovich Mindrov, Brodnikov, and M.V. Bogdanov. They were just anti-communist and Republican. They were a Republican. It was a Republican Party who was known for being anti-communist. They were based in Hamelberg. They had a newspaper called Path of the Motherland. They lasted from 1941 to 1943. Sorry. And it had up to 3,500 members. The first Russian National Army, or the Rusland Army, you can see it in the top right, was led by Boris Alexandrovich Semyaslovsky, had 10,000 men, lasted from 1941 to 1945. Originally it was called Sonderdivision Russland. Its name in German was the One Russische Nationalarmee, and was branch of the German army. Operation Zeppelin. This was a bunch of operations within the Soviet Union. I think I spelled Chechnya incorrectly. Anyway, the plan was to recruit Soviet POWs. Its main role was to do that. They had small other things. They were made by the Abwehr. They also had a plan to kill Stalin with some Soviet generals. They sent saboteurs to Siberian gulags to help prisoners escape so they could join the Germans, and sent saboteurs to the Urals to destroy steel mills. We don't know if they were successful or not. They also helped the insurgency in Chechnya. Well, technically it was Chechnya Ingussia. We'll get to it. There's a slide about it later on. This was the second coming of the mountainous Republic of the Northern Caucasus. Or the second one, it didn't last long, although it did last a very long time and didn't being a pain. Anyway, the planned Right Commissariat Moscowin. It was planned leader was Siegfried Kasch. It was capital going to be in Moscow once they took it. They never did, but still. It was also called Right Commissariat Russland. It was proposed by Alfred Ernst Rosenberg. He is very important because he was the person who created all the puppet states and civil administrations and military administrations in the East. The capital of Moscow was also going to be changed to Moscowin or Moscow. Different spellings. And a possible flag for it is in the top right. The Zuyev Republic, led by Mikhail Vyaseyevich Zuyev. It was also called the Republic of the Old Believers. It was situated near Plotsk. It was supplied by German soldiers with food. It had relations to the NTS, and it destroyed the local Belarusian partisans. It really did. I think they also owned a few forts. They were really hard to get rid of. A possible flag for them is in the top right. The Lockhart Autonomy. Its Oberbürgermeister, or leader, well, it had two leaders, but still, was Bronislav Vladislavovich Kaminsky, leader of the Kaminsky Brigade. Its Starots, it's like a second leader, it's a type of priest, was Konstantin Voskoda-Boynik. The previous guy, not Bronislav, the other one, wonder if Zuyev actually was a Starost himself. That's why it was called the Republic of the Old Believers, because it was made out of Russian Orthodox Christians who were left because the Soviets were basically killing them all off. Anyway, the capital was in Lockhart. The currency was both Soviet ruble and Reichsmark. It was based in the Lockhart Volost, which is some part of Belarus. It's now separate regions, but originally they were merged into this. It's similar to, I think I said it in a different video, it's similar to an okrug, or was it an oblast? One of the two. It also helped create the Russian National Liberation Army. Its actual flag is in the top right. It's a white flag with a cross on the top left, and in the middle is what seems to be St. George killing what's supposed to be a dragon, but looks more like a snake. The Lapel Republic, also made by Kaminsky, its capital was in Lapel, also called Leapel, something like that. It lasted an entire year. Its name in Russian was Respublika Lebel, and in German, the Repel Republik. It was unpopular by the locals, and it wasn't really that good. A proposed flag is in the top right. The Kamansky Brigade, also called the POHA, or the RNA, debate on how you say it. Its leaders were Konstant Voskobojnik, the guy who said about a few slides earlier, Bronislav Vladislavovich Kamansky, which we heard a lot, Christoph Dime, and Heinrich Jür. It was also called the Russian National Liberation Army and the Waffen-Sturm Brigade RONA. It merged with the Russian Liberation Army. One of the names of it, that should be it, not his, in Russian is Russkaya Osvoboditelnaya Narodnaya Armia. It fought in the Warsaw Uprising, the Slovak National Uprising, the Operation Baron, Operation Fritsch, and Operation Tannhausen. It had up to 7,000 men. And its army symbols in the top right. The Belarusian Central Rada, with its flag in the top right, led by Heinrich Laus, Carl Gustav Friedrich Walter von Gottberg, Radoslaw Kazimierz Ratowicz Ostrowski, Nikander Majdzaka, Mika Zuj, and Vital Siepika. It was based in Minsk until 1944, where it went into exile. Then it merged with the Belarusian Democratic Republic, because their leaders were the exact same. They operated in the General Bezirk Rhine-Ruthenia, or General District Right-Ruthenia, because Belarus was also called Right-Ruthenia. That's its actual name out of Belarusian or Russian. Anyway, it was a German puppet state. Yeah, everyone knows it's a German puppet state. It was even put in the list of German puppet states, and it supported the Black Cat Guerrillas, a guerrilla group that fought the Soviets in Belarus for ages. Talking about Right Commissar, what about General Bezirk, White Ruthenia? It was part of Reichskommissariat Ostland, led by Heinrich Laus and Erich Koch. This capital being in Riga. It had 4 General Bezirks. Estland for Estonia, Letland for Latvia, Lithuania for Lithuania, and Weiss Ruthenia for Well, technically rise means west, but anyway, pardon me. It also had smaller districts than that, called Kriegsgebiet. They were Arensberg, or nowadays called Curaçao, Narwa for Narva, Dorpat for Tartu, Pernau for Parnu, Petshire for Petsuri, Revelland or Revelstadt for its rural and urban areas in Tallinn. Dannenberg was now called Daugavpils, Libau for Lake Paja, Titau for Jelgava, and Riga with its urban and rural parts called Rigaland and Rigastadt. Walmer for Vladimira, Krauen, the German way of saying Kaunas, which itself was a capital city, until it became Vilnia. Anyway, it had its own rural and urban areas, so Kaunenland and Kaunenstadt. Ponewesk for Panevsi, Schlaulen for Cielula, Vilnius Land and Vilniusstadt for Vilnius rural area and Vilnius urban area. That should be rural. I accidentally put Vilnius land twice. Baranovich, yeah, for Baranovici. Barisal for Barisal. Hansewici for Hansewici, just in a different way. Leader, Globoyke, or it's called Heleboyke. I think I'm saying it terribly wrong, but sorry. Minxland and Minxstadt for Minx Rural and Minx Urban. Novgorodek for Navahorodek. Slonin, Slutsk for Sluk, and Weljeka for Viljeka. It was created by the Ostgesellschaft, or the Eastern Monopolies, these monopolies being Mannsman, IG Farben, and Simons. The Belarusian Auxiliary Police, which had 30,000 men, and it was set into two groups: the Schutzmannschaften, which were prison and concentration camp guards. The other was Ordnungsdienst, which were police, more or less police. They operated in the General Bezirk Rhein-Ruthenia, and it was formed by Max von Scheckendorf. The Belarusian Home Defense, its symbol is in the top right, was created by the Belarusian Central Rada, led by Ivan Yermenchenko, Barry Rahula, was called Boris Rahula, and Francisket Kusla, was called Franciszek Kushla or Franz Kushel. It had 28,000 men. It was a volunteer battalion, so all those men joined willingly. They carried out anti-partisan operations in Rhein-Ruthenia, and in Belarusian it was called the Belaruskaya Krasnaya Obrona. The Belarusian Independence Party, created in either 1939 or 1940, it's not really known. Its leaders being Uyasavlad, Vilatorevek, Rodska, Mikhail Aparantsevich, Vitsuka, Dmitry Krasmovic, Julian Sakovich, František Alekinovic. They had a newspaper called the Bulletin BNP or the Praca I Fola. They worked with the Abwehr. Their ideology was both nationalism and anti-communism. They created several guerrilla troops, like several you wouldn't even know. Next, the Belaruskaya Gazette. The leaders were Vladimir Kushel, Anton Adamovich, Karalenko, Uludzislaw, Kazlowski, that's a last name in Polish, it's actually Kozlowski, Natalia Arseneva, also pronounced as Arseneva or Arsenjeva, Alexei Sankenovich, A. Demchenko, Mikolaj Sherkelenov, and Vladimir Dudutsky. It was also called the Menskaya Gazette. They were the first people who reported on the Soviet massacre in Katyn. They had they made 272 issues. They were created on the 27th of July 1941 and they supported the Belarusian Central Rada. The Union of Belarusian Youths, which was a branch of the Hitler Youth. You could see their symbol in the top right. The leaders being Wilhelm Kube, Mikas Hanko, and Nadezhda Abramov. They trained in Minsk, Albertina, Drazny, and Florianova. Their abbreviation is the UBY. They had up to 12,600 members, and they were located within General Berserk Rysuthinia. The Corny Cart, what's called the Black Cat, talked about briefly earlier, was an anti-Soviet guerrilla group that operated in Belarus. Its leader being Mikhail Aparsansavich Vitsuka. They lasted till the mid-50s, and they were trained by Otto Johann Anton Skorzeny, of all people. If you don't know who he is, he was this famous Black Ops guy for the German Reich. He freed Mussolini. He worked with Israel for a brief period of time as hitman. He lived in Spain where he opened a shop. He got rid of the leader from Hungary, Horthy. He got rid of Horthy out of power and put the Arrow Cross party in control. And and Skorzeny did a lot of stuff. He also had a scar on his right cheek. Anyway, the 30th Waffen Grenadier Division of the SS. The symbol is in the top right. Led by Hans Siegling, they fought in the Siegfried Line campaign. Also called the Battle of the Bulge. They had up to 10,000 men. The nickname was the 1st Belarusian Division and the 2nd Russian Division. They were mostly made out of Belarusians, Russians, and Polish and Ukrainians who joined. They were made by a merging of the Belarusian Auxiliary Police with the Belarusian Defense Corps. We'll talk about, I think I've already talked about one of them. I think I'm going to talk about the other one later. Anyway, the 13th Belarusian Police SD Battalion for Shai or Security Division Battalion. They were created by the Belarusian People's Self-Assistance. They were a branch of the Sicherheitsdienst or Security Division. That's what the name is in out of German, I think. They guarded concentration camps and POW camps. They were based in Minsk. They were formed in 1943. And they were located in Belarus. Also, there may be more than just 13 of them. The 14th Waffen Grenadier Division of the SS, also called the 1st Galician, but symbol is in the top right. Their leaders were Walter Shimana, Fritz Freitag, and Pavlo Fiovanovich Shandruk. They fought in the Zamskov Uprising, the Lvov-Sandomierov Offensive, the Slovak National Uprising, the Vienna Offensive, and the Western Allies' invasion of Germany. They are nicknamed the Galician Division or the 1st Ukrainian Division. They were a branch of the Waffen-SS, and majority of the members were Ukrainians from the Slovak state. They were created by the Ukrainian National Committee. The Ukrainian Liberation Army, or the YBV, also called the YVV, their symbol is, the UVV, the symbol is in the top right. Its leaders were Mikhailo Omelyanovich Pavlenko and Petro Harvyelovich Dyachenko. They were formed in 1943. They were the size of a division. The name in Ukraine was Ukraine Vyavlone Viesko, and they were made of Soviet POWs who were Ukrainian. The Ukraine National Army, symbol in the top right, made by Pavlo Fiovanovich Sandruk, led by those two people. Petro Javier, also led by Petro Hailovich Dryanchenko, but it was also led by Taras Diamantreyovich, possibly Bulba Borovets. And finally, Taran Shanchenko, also led by Hudyama and Malets. They had 50,000 men and was formed in Weimar. Its name in Ukrainian was Ukrainska Nationalna Armia. The abbreviation is the UNA, and they were a spawner of the Ukrainian National Committee. The Natgal Battalion, led by Roman Taras or Tara. It's up to debate. I think I said Taras twice. Yosipovich Shoshkevich or Chupriaka, Fyodor Oberlander, and Hans Ulrich Herziner. They fought in Operation Barbarossa. They had 400 men. They were a branch of these were next few were branches of the Abwehr. They had 400 men. They were formed in 1941. I forgot to put space in, and it merged with the 14th Waffen Grenadier Division of the SS. The Roland Battalion, led by Vyehen Pavlovich Pobehushchi Ren, also fought in Operation Barbarossa, had 350 men, also worked for the Abwehr, also made in 1941, has links to the Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists Bandera section. If you don't know what the OUN is, or whoever Bandera is, the OUN is basically the fascist party for Ukraine. They recently gained more support due to the Russian invasion, and they had anti-Russian views. They were basically at the time of the Second World War in a split between Bandera, who was a National Socialist and also a deranged expansionist, so irredentist National Socialist, and Shayak, I think that was his name, we'll see him later, who was more Italian fascist or Russian fascist, which means he was not into the racist part, but was still a bit of an irredentist and was generally anti-communist. Oh, that's a quick way. The Bergmann Battalion, the only one with a symbol in the top right, led by Theodor Oberlander. Let me check if I just want to check if I missed anything. Nope. There was a bunch of the hardware, also called Special Group Bergmann. The German name of the division was Sonderverband Bergmann, formed in 1941 and comprised of 5 companies. Friedwilling Stamm Division, led by Ralph von Heigendorf, Wilhelm von Henning, and Bodo von Wartenberg. They were an Ostlegion, which was basically any ethnic group of the Soviet Union that hated the Soviet Union joined these. They were basically units made about defecting ethnic groups who wanted to kill the Soviets. They were the size of a division. They were mostly made up of Azerbaijanis, Georgians, Armenians, Turkics of different types, Tartars, and Cossacks. They fought in the Battle of Vectors and Operation Trennenfeld. They also participated in the Dortmund massacre. The Schutzmannschaft, formed in 1941, was formed by Heinrich Himmler. It had up to 300,000 men. In English, it just means auxiliary police. They operated in the Baltic and in Soviet territory. They were 200 battalions of them. Possibly were more, but I can only get information about a few of them, so sorry. Schutzmann Battalion 118, led by Erich Kohner, Emil Saz, and Hyrorin Miketovich Vasuria. They precipitated in the Bambi Yar massacre. Melenki, that's the guy I was talking about, Melenk. So they were split between Bandera and Melenk. Melenk was a more Italian fascist, not into racism, definitely into independence, anti-communism, and expansionism. Bandera was a definite National Socialist and collaborator who also wanted to go, but their goals were similar, but just different enough where they didn't get along. They were also called the Ukrainian Shkuma, the battalion, not the OUNM, the branches. Previous one we talked about was the OUNB. We'll talk about this later. It was formed in 1942. It was formed in Kiev. Yeah, when I said there were 200 battalions, I meant to say there were more than 200. I found out that is incorrect, by the way. Sorry. Schutzmannschaft Battalion 201, led by Yehen Pavlovich Bobushchi Ren, Roman Taras Yospoicha Shurchevsky, M. Brigadier Vasily Sidor, and Pavlik. Formed in 1941, had 650 men, had links to the Bandera faction, made up of 4 companies, and was part of Army Group Center. The Ukrainian Auxiliary Police, made in 1941, led by Bogdan Kozy. It had 5,000 men. In German, it's Ukrainsche Hilfspolizei, formed by Heinrich Himmler. It operated in the Galicia district of the Reichskommissariat, Ukraine. The Ukrainian Legion of Self-Defense. They committed war crimes, the number of which are so many I cannot say. Most because they don't really specify what they did. It does say they did commit war crimes. They operated in Ukraine. The name in Ukrainian is Ukrainsky Legion Samuburony. German name of it is Ukrainsky Legion der Selbstverteidigung. Probably said that incorrectly. It was formed by the Germans, and in Russian the name is Ukraine Legion Sumburon. Similar to the Ukrainian spelling, but Ukraine is spelled the same, and there's a Y at the end of Sumburon. Anyway, talk about Reichskommissariat Ukraine. Reichskommissariat Ukraine. They're led by Erich Koch. Its general berserks were Wolenian, Podolian, Shitomir, Kievan, Nicosia, Dnipropetrovsk, and Krim-Terbezerk, Turin, so northern Torada, that's saying, counting Ukraine technically also owns the, goes a bit north into the actual mainland. It's called Northern Torada. Ukraine is not, I meant to say Crimea, damn it. It was also called Torada. Its Kreisbites were Brest-Litovsk, Kobrin, Kamad, Kazchik, Lubov, Koel, Sarny, Pinsk, Stalin, Kostopol, Rono, Lutsk, Vladimir, Wolonsk, Shetspstowska, Gorochow, Starokonstantinople, Dubno, Kreminsk, and Tony Salasov, Protskowy, Jamelinski, Linchishaw, Denajowski, Bar, Kamenz, Podolsk, Petrikow, Mosier, Rechisa, Bragin, Ovalsk, Orushk, Korensten, Siehen, Shitomer, Herigwald, Korostychow, Bertichow, Chemelnik, Karestin, Winizia, Nemiro, Gersin, Chabyonj, Arinkow, Kiel, Land and Stat, Borispol, Warisikow, Bila, Zerkawa, Tarashishka, Uman, Korsun, Swenigorod, Smela, Perejaslav, Solotonovsk, Perejatin, Lubini, Lochwiza, Gadjatsk, Migorod, Choro, Kremenchuk, Opashina, Karlowska, Poltawa, Kobeljaki, Geworan, Perwomensky, Migorod, Kirograd, Alexandria in Gulzers, Dolinska, Dobrinska, Woznetska, Barryberg, Nikolajes, Alexander Shaft, Cherson, Kiroy, Roglands, and Stat, Pidgit, Shakar, Werchen in Debtechowska, Kamenschanstadt, Dimitrovska, Landenstadt, Petrikow, Lower Muskuk, Sinelnikova, Pokrovskaje, Chortiza, Shaposhchestad, Nikopol, Kamenka, Dinjapur, Halbstadt, Oranchow, Pologi, Berndijansk, Alinchki, Kachowska, Genitschek, Akimowska, Malka, and Metapol. Its capital was in Rivin. Also, that took me way too long. Felt like an hour of my life just passed, and I'm never getting back. It was formed in 1941, and its currency was the Karbovanets. Its a possible flag for it is in the top right. Yeah. Talk about the Ukrainian National Committee. The Ukrainian National Committee, Ukrainian flag in the top right, led by Pavlo Ivanovich Shenderuk, Vladimir Kubudjikich, what's called Kubidjich and Kubiachich, and Alexander Semenikov. It's what got support from both sides of the organization of Ukrainian nationalists. It created the Ukrainian National Army. Its abbreviation was the UNK. Another abbreviation for it was the UNC, and was supported by Alfred Ernst Rosenberg. The Ukrainian National Council, same flag, made by Mikhailo Vyacheslav, Anton Baronsky, and Ivan Dubin, and Ospit Bordonik. Its parliament was called the Presidium. Its capital was in Lviv. The party in power was the Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists Melink side. It had 130 delegates, and it was formed in 1941. The Ukrainian Central Committee, which is different from the Ukrainian National Committee and the previous one, led by Vladimir Kubinchik, had also a Melink in power. It was a subdivision of the Ukrainian National Committee. Its abbreviation was the UCC. Its name in Ukrainian was the Ukrainian Centralny Komitet. Its abbreviation can be the UTC. Here is something close to what we just talked about the Chechnya. The Northern Caucasian and Mountainous Caucasian Legion, formed in 1942, had up to 30,000 men. It's created by the North Caucasian National Committee. That was what led the insurgency in Chechnya, or Chechnya-Ingussia. It was made out of North Ossetians, Chechens, Ingushians, Abkhazians, Circassians, Balkars, Kabardinians, Karachisis, Kurds, Talysh, and Dagestanis. They are an Ost Legion, and in German it were Legion Nord Caucasian and Berg Caucasian Legion. I put Legion too many times. Also, the flag of the North Caucasian National Committee is in the top right. Anyway, to another group, the Caucasian Mohammedish Legion, led by Friedrich Albrecht, Ristov, and Kochuk Ulagay. Its name in English means Caucasian Mohammedan Legion, formed in 1942, headquarters in Meyerhold. It was an Ost Legion, had up to 30,000 men. Its flag is in the top right. The 1st SS Cossack Cavalry Division, symbol in the top right, led by Helmut von Pannwitz, Hans-Joachim von Schultz, von Bath, Alexander von Boos, and Konstantin Wagner. It was formed in 1943. It was part of the Wehrmacht. Its identity signature was the flag of the Don Republic. I'm not joking. It was the size of the division and was made of mostly Don and Terek Cossacks. I think majority of it being Don County had the flag of the Don Republic. The 25th SS Cossack Corps, they had a lot of these. Helmut von Pannwitz, Konstantin Wagner, and Hans-Joachim von Schultz were the leaders of it. They were the size of a corps. They were a branch of the Western SS. Their name in German, was the 25th SS Cossack Cavalry Corps. You could say it's the KKK. Get it? Because they have 3 KKK. Anyway, they fought in Operation Spring Awakening, and their headquarters was Bialystok. The 162nd Turkestan Division, symbol in the top right, formed in 1943 and trained in Neuhammer, also called Schweizer Zoll. They were part of the Wehrmacht. It was an Ost Legion, so made of any ethnic group from the East who didn't like the Soviets, mostly within the Soviet Union, those being Turks and Azeris. It was led by Oskar Ritter von Meidenmeyer and Ralph von Heigendorf. There were also smaller bits, but that's it. The symbol is in top right. I'm pretty sure I already said it. Anyway, moving on. The Armenian Legion, led by Darastamat or Dro Kanayan, had up to 33,000 men, formed in 1942. Its name in German was the Armenische Legion. Its symbol is in top right. Not sure if I said it already. Its name in Armenian is the Hayakanakan Legion, because Armenia in Armenian is Hayastan. So Armenian for Armenian is Hayastani, in a way. Anyway, or is it Hayakan? Hayakakan. I think it's Hayakakan. It had 12 battalions. The Azerbaijani Legion, led by Abdurrahman Fatali Dubansky, had 40,000 men, formed in 1942. Participated in the Wola massacre. Its name in German is the Azerbaijan Legion. It was a branch of the Wehrmacht. I think one of these was asked to be made by the Mufti. I think it's called Mufti of Jerusalem. Not sure. Anyway, the proposed flag is in the top right for the Reich Commissariat of Caucasus. It was planned to be led by Arno Shikezdans, who was the diplomat to the independent state of Croatia. We'll talk about it soon. Anyway, its planned capital was in Tbilisi, or it's called Tbilisi nowadays, and it was planned to change the Caucasus to the Caucasus, so change the Curry case to King case. Plan was created by Alfred Ernst Rosenberg. Turkey planned to gain land if they joined the war. From it, it was planned to have the regions of Transcaucasia, Circaucasia, so south and north of the Caucasus, and parts of southern Russia. The Georgian Legion, It was led by Mikhail Akhmeteli and Shalva Maglakides. Formed in 1941, had 30,000 men, was a branch of the Wehrmacht. Its name in Georgian was the Georgish Legion, and the Georgian name for it was the Kartuli Legion. So the name Georgia in Georgian is Kartul, which is kind of funny. Anyway, sorry, Kartuli Legioni. Anyway, moving on. The Patriotic Union of Tetrigorgi, formed in 1925. It was also was based on its name out of St. George. It was led by Leo Karanselides and Mikhail Mikako G. Terceratelli, also called Michael von Zerentelli. It was absorbed into the Georgian National Socialist Party. It was based their name on St. George. They comprised of 3 groups that lasted till 1954, till it was absorbed. So it lasted a long time. The Union of Georgian Traditionalists, led by Prince Irakli Bagration Mukranili and Zurab Avalish, also called Zurab Davidovich Avalov. Mikhail Mikako forgot about a comma. G. Unless that's not a comma. Yeah, I don't think it's supposed to be. I think that's just one way. G. Terestetelli, Grigol Ropkeze Kita, what's called Petre Chichekeli or Chichekeli, Shalva Maglakalizd or Maglakalizd, Shalva Amira Jabi, Spiridon Kedia, Marcos Tugushi Gogri, Karen Seldiv, Rivaz Gabashvili, David Raknaders, Alexandre Azantieni, and Savin Tisishvili. Born in 1942, it was an independence party which was monarchist, which I support, and declared the Wehrmacht, which I don't support. The name in Georgian is Kartvel Il Traditionalist Ta Kavishlo. It formed in Berlin. The Azerbaijani SS volunteer formation. This was supported by the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, Muhammad Amin al-Husseini. It was led by Maya Maida. They were formed in Trauniki. They participated in the Wola massacre. They were a branch of the Wehrmacht, and they were made up of 10 divisions. The Kalmykian Cavalry Corps, also can be counted as the KKK. Literally, its German version literally can be spelled as KKK. Led by Otto Wurmer, also called Dr. Dole. So they're also called the Dr. Dole Comic Formation. Don't know why the guy was called Dr. Dole. I think that was his name when he went into hiding. Although, if it was called that before it, I'm pretty sure that it was just a name. A dumb name it would go. It was made out of 5,000 men. No, it was formed in 1942. It was a branch of the German army, and its name in German was the Kalmykian Cavalry Corps, or the KKK. The Hiwi, or volunteer. Literally, that's what they were. They were auxiliary volunteers who supported the Germans. They were basically like the Askaris, except instead of Africans, they were Eastern Europeans. Formed in 1941, they had 600,000 men. It was also called auxiliary volunteers. They were a branch of the German army under Schutzstaffen. It was abbreviation of a German word called Huey is technically an abbreviation of the German word Hilfswifflige. It has the exact same meaning. The Litschau Bau Battalion, led by Kazi Prakishkius, Vlada Strimas, Alexandras Milansertiev, Zima Borisis, Joseph Sonetius, Stapas Nagorodskis, and Emil Just. Born in 1943, had 5 units. In English, the name basically just means the Lithuanian Construction Battalion. They fixed infrastructure and damaged factories and were part of Army Group North. Fatherland Defense Front Force, led by Helmut Maida, Isidorius Jatlis, and Alfonso Urbanos, and Mercy Cravier. It had 6,000 men, fought in Battle of Cedar, headquarters in Kansas. Abbreviation is supposedly the TAR. I think that's the name is in Lithuanian, and they were part of the 9th Army. The Luftwaffe Legion Lettland. The symbol is in the top right. They were the size of 2 squadrons. They flown Arando R-66, Gotha Go 145, and Henschel HS 126. They trained using Bucker BU 131s, the branch of the Luftwaffe. The headquarters were in Nautschalgruppen 12, Litisch. And the squadron code was 6A. The Turkestan Legion, which was formed in 1942, fought in Operation Ash and Operation Overlord, also called the Normandy landings. They were a branch of the Weimar. They were part of the German army. They had 21 battalions, and they were created by Nuri Kiligil Pasha. Cossakia, an idea created by Alfred Ernst Rosenberg. Their plan leaders being Peter Nikolaev Krasnov, the ex-leader of the Republic of the Don Republic, or the Almighty Don Hoth, Mikhail Grigorievich Nazarenko, some other guy, and Vasily Galazkov, also some other guy. The parliament was the Cossack National Center. It was situated in Prague. It was supported by the Don, Czech, Ural, Orenburg, Kuban, and Astrakhan hosts. It was supported by the Ostministerium. That's what Alfred Ernst Rosenberg was the president of. So the Eastern Ministry, basically meaning. The Karachay National Committee, autonomous region under German rule, and some police force. It created a few brigades to help the Wehrmacht, formed in 1942. It was made to administer the region. Most of its brigades were paratroopers. The Idol Ural Division, symbol in the top right. The leader was Musa Khalil. It had 40,000 members. It was formed in 1942, formed in Vitebsk. It was also called the Volga Tatar Legion. It was part of the Wehrmacht. I'm slowly losing knowledge of words. Omanskis, these being Friedrich Kerr, Johann Sudel, Jan Maid, and Arnold Sika. The identification symbol was a white armband, not a joke. It had 40,000 men, and it was a militia force. it's actually been active since 1917 and only just died at 1944 as a guerrilla group. Fought in the Russian Revolution, the Summer War, which was a Lithuanian independence war. It was brief, most because it was mostly forgot about because during the invasion of the Soviet Union, where Lithuania tried to break free and join the Germans. World War II, which itself had two, where they were part of the Tartu offensive and the Tallinn offensive. So whilst Finland lost the Winter War, Lithuania won the Summer War. Which is kind of funny when you think about it, because they were both times of seasons. The Estonian Auxiliary Police, led by Harald Hiripula, Palu. Sorry, I'm very bad at saying his name. Also called Rybak, Harald Rybak or Harald Palu. They fought in the Battle of Stalingrad, fought in the Narva Bridgehead, and the Battle of the Bridge of Narva Bridgehead, and the Battle of Amagogi. Had 22 battalions. They were part a branch of the Schutzmannschaft. They were part of Army Group North Rear Area, and were also called the Schuma. Schutzmannschaft Battalion 33, led by Vladimir Paulin, made up of 3 companies the size of a battalion, formed in Tartu and Viljandi respectively. It was formed in 1941 and was a branch of the Ordnungspolizei. Schutzmannschaft Battalion 288. They fought the Ronson Partisan Republic. I have no idea what they are, other than the partisan movement within Estonia, and that was about it. There's no information about them. They just know for being existing. They were part of Army Group Rear Area. The name in German was Politie Fulleste Battalion. In Estonian is 288 Politia Jalazia Battalion. They were a branch of the Estonian Auxiliary Police and were part of the Wehrmacht. As I said, there were more than just 200 of them. My information may be slightly incorrect. The 36th Estonian Police Division, also led by Harald Ripalu or Rybak, participated in the Novgorod massacre, fought in Stalingrad, had 438 men who were part of the SS and a branch of the Estonian Auxiliary Police, burning through these like quicksand. The Estonian Legion, led by Franz Xavier Joseph Maria Augsburger, formed in 1942, the size of a regiment branch of the Waffen-SS, had 3 battalions, and fought in the Battle of Cherson-Chakasi pocket. It was one of the pockets where the Soviet Army was surrounded and was destroyed. The 3rd Estonian SS Volunteer Brigade, symbol in the top right, also led by Franz Xavier Joseph Maria Augsburger, formed in 1943, size of brigade. It was an infantry unit It was expanded in 1944, and all it was famous for was fighting in the Second World War. The 20th Waffen Grenadier Division of the SS, or the 1st Estonian, symbol in the top right, led by Franz Xavier Joseph Maria Augsburger, famous for fighting the Battle of Narva, the Battle of the Tannenberg Line, the Battle of the Tartu Offensive, the Stula Oder Offensive, and the Upper Silesian Offensive. It was part of the 3rd Germanic SS Panzer Corps, the size of the division, part of the Waffen SS, and was also called the Estonian Division. The Latvian Legion, symbol in the top right, led by Karl Pfeffer Wildenbrooks. Heinrich Schultz, Friedrich Wilhelm Bock, Karl Friedrich von Puckler, Berghaus, Radolf Bangergisk, Carlos Loeb, Vladimir Weiss, Arvid Krepens, Vladimir Skastulk, August Apps, and Villasjanum had 110,550 members. And I made an error in that in the fourth section. Damn it. They fought in the siege of Leningrad, the East Pomerania, the Battle of the Courland Bridgehead, the Battle of Berlin, Battle of the Moor Parish, the Battle of the Tannenberg Line, and the Battle of Hill 93.4, whatever that is. Formed in 1943, the motto was Dives Saveti Latvia, or God bless Latvia. Their colours were the Latvian national colours. So, scarlet, 2 lines of scarlet with white in between. The Latvian Auxiliary Police, led by Robert Bolzmanis, formed in 1941, had 50 battalions formed in Riga. May had up to 100,000 men, and it had 6 police districts. The Lithuanian Auxiliary Police, led by Lucian Wysocki, and A. Engel, Atanas Spokesius, Atanas Semanas, Raquel Latis, and Franz Vechthauer. It had 26 regiments. It was formed in 1941. Its name in German was Lichwell Hilfspolizei. It formed in 1941 June uprising and had 20,000 men. The 10th Lithuanian Police Battalion was also called the 256th Lithuanian Police Battalion. It was formed in 1941. It was formed in Panzernases, led by Atanas Veikutis, Gemenides, Kahis, Skardinskas, or Skardis, Domas Paselas, Pronolius, Tavanskus, and Vietautas Aulinius had up to 300 men and possibly more, and they were an infantry battalion. The 258th Lithuanian Police Battalion may have had 250 men, and they were an infantry battalion. They formed in Tilsit, also called Sovetsk. I think they definitely changed the name to Sovets in remembrance to the Soviet Union. They were a branch of the Lithuanian Auxiliary Police, led by Petrus Polokauskas, and participated in the Guleninsky massacre. The 259th Lithuanian Police Battalion, led by Captain Albinas Vastas, formed in Prienai, made out of 4 companies. Branch of the Lithuanian Auxiliary Police, merged with the 3rd Lithuanian Construction Battalion and Training Kaunas. The Estonian Self-Administration, also called the Directorate, led by Hjalmar Johannes May. It's created by the Chief of the General Bezirk of Estland, Karl Sigmund Hermann Julius Litzmann. The German puppet administration, more or less a puppet state, its Director of Internal Affairs was Oskar Angelus, and Director of Economic and Transport was Alfred Wendt, or Wendt. The Estonian Security Police and SD, also called the SIPO, led by Martin Sandberger. They wore their German counterparts' clothing. Were a branch of the Sicherheitspolizei, was split into 2 groups and formed in 1942. The RGS Commandos, symbol in the top right, led by Victor RGS, based off the name of the commandos, and Herbert Kurz, were formed in 1941. They also called the Latvian Auxiliary Security Police and were a branch of the Latvian Auxiliary Police Battalion, had 1,200 men, and was formed in Riga, or school. They had up to 1,200 men. The Perkon Cross, also called the Thunder Cross, symbol the party flags in the top right. It was led by Gustav Selmins. Most members joined the Irish Commandos. They were founded in 1933, actually. They had 15,000 members at their height, though they were banned by the Soviets, but they secretly were still around, so it still counts. They organized the committee of the organizing Latvian volunteers. The 2nd SS Brigade, also called the 2nd SS Brigade Motorized, or the 2nd Latvian SS Infantry Brigade, led by Karl Freier Fischer von Fischer Trudenfeld and Fritz von Schultz. Formed in 1941, was a branch of the Waffen SS, was a side of the brigade, and was controlled by Army Group North Rear Area. 19th Waffen Grenadier Division of the SS 2nd Latvian, and symbol in the top right, led by Heinrich Schultz, Friedrich Wilhelm Bock, and Bruno Steckenbach. It was a part of the 6th SS Army Corps Latvia, size of the division made up of 3 regiments, with an infantry division, and fought in the Battle of the Courland Pocket. The 15th Waffen Grenadier Division of the SS, or the 1st Latvian, led by Peter Hansen, Karl Friedrich von Polka, Berghaus, Nikolaus Heilmann, Herbert von Oberweiser, Adolf Ax, and Karl Berg. Was formed in 1943. It was the size of a division and was a branch of the Waffen SS, part of the 6th SS Army Corps, and was created by Heinrich Luitpold Himmler. That's right, Heinrich Himmler's middle name is Luitpold, similar to loophole. So Luitpold Himmler. The Lithuanian Security Police, made by Vytautas Rivietas, Alexandras Lilikias, Johannes Pakulis, Alexandras Brazikirtaitis, Pedros Bani, and Antanas Liepa. Also called the Samgusmas, had 6 branches. Formed in 1941, operated in Vilnius, Sierra, Ukmerge, Marianjapol, and Panasvezes. Many members of the party were a member of the Iron Wolf organization. I think I didn't do the Iron Wolf. If I did, I will tell you about it, but if I didn't, they were basically a fascist party in Latvia, led by an ex-president of Latvia, or Prime Minister of Latvia, all things. Pretty sure I didn't. The Strath Battalion, made in the symbol in the top right, lasted from 1942 to 1945. There was a branch of the Wehrmacht. It inspired the Schatrafabat. There was a military penal battalion made by the ODW, or the Oberkommando der Wehrmacht, or Armed Forces High Command, and were part of the Feldgrenadier. Now, my middle points, the points that basically are on both sides at the same time, or on either side, but just a fun fact, and they're on the same topic. Oh, damn it. The organization of the Ukrainian nationalists. There are 2 flags of the 2 separate parts. The flag on the left right, more middle right, so top right but top middle right, is of the Bandera, which is red which is similar to the Ukrainian flag, except instead of blue on top, it's red, and yellow at the bottom. It's actually black, so red on top, black at the bottom. And then the far right is the Melnik side, which was similar to the symbol of Rurik, except for the middle part it's a sword, and it's entirely yellow and it's a blue background. The party was split in two. One was led by Andrea Antanasovich Bilyek, and the other led by Stepan Andreevich Bandera. They were known for participating in the killing of Bronislaw Pieracki and the massacre of Poles in Volhynia and eastern Galicia. They were formed in 1929, and the slogan was Slava Ukraini, Heronium Slava. Don't know what it actually stands for. I know some of it means Ukraine. That's all I know. Moving on. The Ukraine Insurgency Army, symbol with the Bandera flag and the top right, led by Vasily Ivankonev, Dmitrio Semyonov, Klementy Romanas Taras, Asjospuchi Shushevsky, and Vasily Stepanovich Kuk. Active in Volhynia, Polsynia, Valencia, Podylia, and Carpathia, had 200 members, operated in until 1956, and part of the Bandera faction. The ideology was Ukrainian nationalism, anti-Polonism, being hatred to Poles, anti-communism, and anti-Russian sentiment. They mostly fought the Soviets, although they did have a brief period of time where they fought the Germans, but that was for a year. They definitely fought the Soviets for far longer. The Ukrainian national government, led by Varoslav Yemerovich, capital in Lviv, declared in 1941, also led by the Banderas. Name in Ukrainian is Ukrainske Dozhene Pavilinia, also called the Ukrainian State Board, with their flag in the top right. I put it in here because they were dismantled within a few days because the Germans just didn't like them. And that was about it. Anyway, moving forward. The Ukraine Supreme Liberation Council, led by Kirill Ozmak, formed in 1944, lasted until 1954. Most of its members were killed off between that time. They were basically the civil branch of the Ukrainian Liberation Army, or what are they? The Ukrainian Insurgent Army. Headquarters in Lviv and Munich. Members of the anti-Bolshevik bloc of nations. Their ideologies were Ukrainian nationalism, ultranationalism, revolutionary nationalism. There was a lot of nationalism within them. Anti-Russian sentiment, anti-communism, religious conservatism, integral nationalism, and national liberation. The Union of Lithuanian Freedom Fighters, led by Jonas Zemets, Adolf Romanskau, Antanas Krogelis, Jovas Lukas, Jovas Vitkuls, Jonas Mitsunas, Junas Lielasuya, and Lauginas Bolikis. Destroyed in 1953, operated in Lithuania, also called the Movement for the Struggle of Lithuania, capital being in Minsk, and had 50,000 men. I think their leader was actually proclaimed as the president of Lithuania, and was actually legally by nowadays Lithuania counted as an actual president of Lithuania, which is kind of funny to think of. Anyway. Moving on. The Lithuanian National Partisan Organization, connected to the Lithuanian Central Council, also called the Varlan Hawks. Technically, it never technically died. Yes, the violent aspect of it died in the 80s, but it basically just transformed into a non-violent organization in its final. So technically, it never technically died, which is kind of interesting for its 50,000 members. So yeah, it basically merged with the popularly growing anti-Soviet rule in Lithuania. Not Lithuania, but Latvia. It became a non-violence group of activists. But violence didn't technically end until the 80s and more to non-violence afterwards. So, yeah. It also was formed in 1944. The Forest Brothers, there were several Forest Brothers, like several. If you don't know how many, basically every single Latvian nation, the Forest Brothers was the united group of every single partisan movement within the Baltic nations. In Estonia, they were called the Matsavanad. They technically didn't. It lasted till 1978, when their final member was drowned by the NKVD. It was founded in 1940. The last group of it was called the Armed Combat Union. It was a group of them. So the Forest Brothers in Lithuania died in 1978, which is arguably quite long. They fought in the Summer War in Lithuania and the Guerrilla War in Estonia, which technically didn't end until 1978. Although most of fighting did end in the 50s, it wouldn't really technically end in Estonia till 1978, and in Latvia it never ended. Anyway, the Provisional Popular Revolutionary Government of Chechnya and Ingushetia, the people within the insurgency in Chechnya from 1940 to 1944. Its leaders were Hassan or Kasan Israelov, was called Israel Kant Hassan, and Mierbek Sieprov. Its capital was Galanshozk, formerly known as Arkbozy. The Germans didn't start supporting them until 1942. The party in power was the Special Party of Caucasus Brothers, or the OKPB. They had an army of 5,000 men. Its flag is in the top right. The Armata Negra, or in English, the Black Army. Not confused with the Ukrainian Black Army. This one was in Moldavia, and the Black Army in Ukraine died in 1921. It was destroyed in 1950. Its member was Theodor Koskon, Ion Gane, Vasil Plaska, Simeon Alxa, Gavril Podio Goch, George Bogotu, Ion Koskodan. I'm pretty sure those two are brothers. Hiraton Sioplan, Kavul Kata, Mikhail Jartan, Gigor Herta, and Marie Buriana. Its official language is Romanian and had 50 members. The Governorate of Transnistria. The top right flag is a possible flag. They never had it. They had a symbol though. It was a bird with the seal in it. It was basically under Lithuanian control because it was a Lithuanian administrative division. Its raïons, or districts, were Balchin, Kieprgorod, Smerenka, Stanislavsky, Ayerviev, Mogule, Sagarov, Krasnov, Spikov, Tulsin, Braslav, Trostinit, Cernanov, Tomasopol, Iamopol, Krigilopol, Kamenka, Piasenica, Kodama, Rebnica, Barzula, Obradikova, Silika, Bersad, Ologopol, Balta, Persina, Savrina, Lyubiskavo, Krisevo Ozero, Valavrida Akvak, Golta, Dominik Vaka, Anaviev, Vali, Hotulio, Stafata, Troituka, Sirakavio, Cernovo, Petrovarovkov, Profika, Zirna, Onka, Zaharyevka, Dubasara, Girapol, Tiraspol, Gosulovobol, Suva, Tabirakova, Slobovia, Razdelnia, Slev Ivanikova, Odessa, Blaguljevo, Antonio Kodisevo, Oviapol, Balayevka, Vidigoda, Franzfeld, Krasda, Valavka, Ovsivkov, Borisovka, Mostovia, Landau, and finally Veselinvov. As over districts, the counties were Miglau, Tulsin, Djustrau, Rebnina, Bolta, Golta, Aniliev, Dubasari, Cherespol, Beresakova, Odessa, Ovdiviopol, of Koziviov. Its municipal residente de Judets or county seat municipalities were Odessa and Terespol. The Oras Residencia de Judets or county capital cities were Mogule, Tusin, Iamopol, Bolta, Ribnina, Golta, Aniliev, Dabasuri, Beresovka, Ovidipol, Ovsiniov. Its cities were Smirinka, Bursa, Barzula, Grigoriopol, and its governors were George Alexiou and Georgia Potopianu. The Erna long-range reconnaissance group, formed by the Finnish army of all things, it was formed in Stuka and Espoo. It was led by Colonel Henant or Hans, or Henant or Hans Kerg. It fought in the Continuation War, formed in 1941, and the most famous battle was the Battle of Kautal. The Lithuanian Activist Front, members being Kazys Skirpa, Leonas Paulinis, Vitalis Bulvinis, Zauza Abrusia, Basitius, Pelepius, Sukakas, Petras, Paulitis, Vincentis, Brzezinski, Stasi Ruskisi, and Neugirdas Clementis. Similar in the top right, were part of the Provisional Government of Lithuania, operated mostly in Kaunas and Vilnius. Its name in Lithuanian is Lietuvėnų Aktyvistų Frontis. They were formed in 1940 and fought in the June Uprising. The Provisional Government of Lithuania, flag in the top right. Its Prime Minister was Kazys Skirpa, and Jonas Ambrosiashov Brazitis, formed in 1941, discontinued in 1940, discontinued in 1941 as the Germans just occupied it and conquered it more or less. It never achieved any of its goals of an independent Lithuania. Its Minister of Education was Jozas Abrisios Bazrastis, its other Prime Minister, and the Minister of Defense was Vytautas Balsitius and Stasi Rastinkas. The Lithuanian TDA Battalion, led by Andreas Buktonas, headquarters in Kaukas, had 724 men. The TDA stands for Tortino Darbo Asprugos. born in 1941, had 3 companies. Lithuania in World War II. It was co-belligerent, meaning it was in it, but again, it was also definitely not in it. That's meaning it literally did the bare minimum of anything. It was called the Continuation War because it was a continuation of the Winter War by their points. They only went to the borders of the pre-Winter War, which was barely anything. I mean, they went to the Karelian Isthmus and Sala and some small other regions. They joined in 1941. They were a member of the Axis, even though they barely did anything. They were participated in Operation Winter Fox. The Kuchukchi Regional Civil War, it began in 1940, it lasted until 1955. It began over a dispute over the Civil War effort, where they were forced to mobilize, but the rural Chukotchis did not. They fought the KVD and urban Chukotchis for 15 years, and it never really got anywhere. The Russo-Japanese border conflicts, there were 10 battles lasting from 1935 to 1941. The Battle of Kalenke Temple, or the Halmhamio incident, the Orohodoga incidents, the Battle of Lake Kanka, the Battle of Sui Henfu, Valbir Lake, the Orakud incident, the Turan incident, the Sui Fu incident, different from the Battle of Sui Fu, the Kamchatka Island incident, the Battle of Lake Kazan, and what's called the Chankun Feng incident, and the Battle of Kolingul. The armies that fought were the Red Army, the Mongol People's Army, the Kuomintang Army, the Japanese Korean Army, and the Manchukuo Imperial Army. It stopped after the Soviet-Japanese Neutrality Pact. In total, on both sides, it equaled up to 63,000 men. Or was that just the Soviet side? I'm not really sure. Barrier troops. They were used by the Red Army, the National Revolutionary Army, the Russian Ground Forces, and the Syrian Arab Army. They're also called blocking units or anti-retreating forces. The Red Army used them effectively. It killed about 657,364 of their own men. But still in use. It was formed after Order 227. It arguably made them weaker because it had to be repealed, same as the order itself, because it literally wasted manpower for killing other manpower. It basically, his general said, "Stop it, please." He also said this for Stalin to stop also leading his troops because he couldn't actually get himself killed. Other fronts. I say other fronts mostly because the only fronts that we should be carrying of that were important were the Second Western Front. The first one died with France within the first few years of the war. The Italian Front during the Italian Civil War in 1943. So that the Lapland Front, which basically it didn't really last that long. It lasted a few months at best. This just kicking out all the German troops in the region. The North African Front ended in 1943. The East African Front ended before the Eastern Front even happened, and the Greek Front ended in 1941. So I put it here because yes, it's a good point that there were other fronts, but most of those other fronts ended before the Eastern Front. So there were still some fronts. Cons or negatives to my point, or arguments you can use as against my specific point. Let's go through them. Order 227, simply put as not a step back, or in Russian, Ni Shugu Nazad. Introduced in 1942, it continued in 1944. It discontinued in 1944. 4,222,700 troops died from it, and it was meant to restore discipline. It sort of did, but then again, if that's the, it was also genocidal. Stalin was also known for just wasting lives, so it could be just a deranged way of doing it. Besides the USSR, USSR was 22,402,200 kilometers long. It was also could be in American terms 8,649,500 square miles long. There were 169,700,000 people during the beginning of the war. At the end, only 170,500,000 people were left. It was the 6th largest nation in the world. Most people lived between the Dnieper River, although most of its people lived between the Dnieper River and the Ural Mountains. So if you got past the Dnieper River, yeah, most of its population was there. Not much after that. And the Strafverbats, or in English, penal battalions, formed in 1942, were based off the Straf battalions created by Order 227, led by Yuri Konstantinovich Zhukov. It had up to 850 men. Stalin in charge. He basically said to the previous Minister of Defense of the Soviet Union, get lost, and probably shot him too. Signed on Orders 270 and 227, supported the Anti-Fascist Committee, claimed him as Marshal of the Soviet Union as himself, changed the anthem of the Soviet Union from the International to the National Anthem of the Soviet Union, and started to begin supporting the Russian Orthodox Church. Because previously he was trying to kill it at all costs. But it's because he was a churchman, because he was a ex-student of the church himself. By the way, his teacher was also linked to Rasputin of all things, which is kind of funny. And a guy who was basically Hitler's Russian copy. Anyway, Order 270 can be simplified as fight to the last. It lasted from 1941 to 1945. Not entirely sure how long it actually lasted, but it did last a long time. It basically stopped Soviet soldiers from surrendering and discouraged soldiers from defecting to the Germans. It failed miserably, by the way. A lot of Soviets were still captured, even if they didn't surrender, and a lot did surrender. It was controversial because it was a Soviet policy on prisoners of war. So basically saying, prisoners of war are basically enemies, so we should kill them as well. So it was better for the POWs just to join the Germans after they got captured, because if they were recaptured by their own members, they would be just killed anyway. The State Defense Committee, made by Joseph Vissarionovich Stalin, that is also called Iosif Vissarionovich Shugavili. Other members, that was the chairman, by the way. Other members being the Vyacheslav Mikhailovich Molotov, also called Scribrin. Didn't know that. Lavrenti Pavlovich Beria, Clement Yefremovich Yurshilov, pardon me, Georgy Maximilianovich Melenkov, Nikolai Alexandrovich Voznesky. I think he was shot he died ages ago. Died in the purge. One of them totally did die in the purge. Antanas Ivanovich Mikhailov, on Lazar Moiseyevich Kaganovich or Kahanovich, and Mikhail Alexandrovich Bulganev. And lasted from 1991 to 1945, based in Moscow. It was basically a war cabinet, more or less. His name in Russian was the Gosudarstvenny Komitet Obrony. The Jewish Anti-Fascist Committee, the main proponent on getting America to commit Lend-Lease to the Soviet Union, led by members being Heinrich Erlich, Victor Alter, Solomon Shlomo Mikhail, Solomon Andreevich Lvovsky, Shenke Epstein, Itze Pfeffer, Ilya Gurevich, Ehrenberg, Eli Falkovich, Solomon Bregeman, Aaron Davidovich Katz, Boris Abramovich Shemelev, Boris Yusevovich, Leib Dmitrievich Ichkvikov, Ubertev, Davidovich Moshik, Isaac Nursov, David Deov, Bersilov, Deov David, Hosiev or Hostein, Benjamin Zushkin, Ilya Vattenberg, Shlomo or Solomon Mikhaevich or Mikhailovich Schliefer, Emilia Tumen, Leon Talmy, Kaya Vattenberg, Ostroyevskaya, Lena Solomonova, Stern or Stern, Israel Ilovich Visanovich, and Shmuel Samuel Solomonovich Halkin or Galkin. Abbreviation is the GAK. Most of the members were arrested after the Doctor's Plot, but they were supported by Stalin until he didn't. And most of its members were a part of the pre-Soviet Socialist Party called the Bund. The All-Slavic Anti-Fascist Committee, members being Alexander Sergeyevich Shkushabashkov, Alexander Gundarov, Dmitry Dmitrovich Shushkevich, Zendervek Nedjedeli, Alexander Yakovlevich Kornichuk, Pavlo Haroyovich Churyanachevic, Alexander or Alexander Petrovich or Petrovich Dorozhenko, Anatoly Alexandrovich Latreve, Alexander Mankoy Tolstoy, Ivan Dmitrievich Lustesi or Yanka Kapula, Konstantin Mikhailovich or Miskayevich, Yakub Kosler or Jakub Kosler, Alexander Androvich Vadeyev or Vadiv, Vanda Lavona Vaskia or Wanda Walaskia, Walasol Kazimierz Bronesky, Leon Chawistik, and Andrea Loshoya or Irvin Joe. Zendek will be a member of the Czech Polish Party and will be the Czech Minister of Education. Left until 1962, where it only had one member left. Kind of most of them died off. Its newspaper was The Slavs, headquarters were in Moscow, had up to 70 rallies and links to 130 organizations. The independent state of Croatia was a hellhole, can be simply put as that. Half of its nation was guaranteed by Germans and the other half by Italians until the Italian Civil War happened during its halfway through its existence. Their leaders, the Ustasha, which if you think normal National Socialism or Nazism was soft cocaine, Ustashaism, which was the Ustasha's main ideology, was crack cocaine, because it was arguably worse. Because they were actively making things worse. Actual quote from a German document translated in English. And if you look at a map of the actual thing and look at the map that was used by Spartan, what's its name, another YouTuber who did about Ante Pavlich, their leader, it basically said that most of its nation, except for the main cities, were all controlled by partisans. It was a it was a manpower hellhole. Anyway, finally we can get to the conclusion. So let's evaluate what we have learned. So the statistics, that's supposed to be last one. So to make it a secured victory, Finland is more than just co-belligerent. Croatia is more stable. Japan invades the Soviet Union. Italy is more proud of what can be done for the whole of World War II. Germany won the Battle of Britain, or the London Brits never happened. That's because if the London Brits didn't happen, then the Germans could just bomb the RAF to oblivion. Others could be that lack of fronts, so the Second Western Front didn't exist, and also the Italian Civil War didn't happen. Maybe they could manage to get Turkey joining the war. That would have done pretty much a lot of stuff. They would have a belly and do more manpower down south. Anyway, let's do statistics. So it would still be difficult, but it wouldn't be impossible, what most people say. The ratio to Soviet Union victory to German victory would be 60-40 in my opinion. If I'm being too generous, it would be 70-30. Debate this in the comments. And my next video will be about American Civil War generals, both sides, including Confederate and Union. Well,